Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, you know what? Yeah, I honestly believe it's time to start canceling some cruises. That's right, you know me, one of the biggest proponents of cruising there is. I'm on cruises whenever I can. I've actually begun canceling some of my cruises. That's right. Now, if you're going with me on the Love Boat cruise in February, don't worry, I'm not canceling that. The groups, I'm not canceling. The cruise lines may do it, but I'm not doing that yet. But I had another cruise booked with my two nephews, Paul and Mark, and we were supposed to go in March. And with the things that are going on right now, they are very worried about, well, are we going to go? And now the protocols that we thought were going to be in place, we thought we could go to a show and not have to wear a mask. We thought, there's designated vaccine areas. We're not going to have to do that. Less chance of catching COVID on the ships and not being quarantined and not being able to fly home. There's more chance of that now. And they have to get back to their jobs. They can't afford to be 5, 10 days, 14 days late getting back home if they test positive. And they said, we want to go at a time when we're sure we're going to have fun, or at least the chance is far less likely that something might happen. Well, I told them, yeah, in March probably we'll be at that point where it'll be far less likely something will happen. But the trouble is, final payments are due now. Final payments for these cruises are coming up in the next week or so, and we had to make a decision, and they decided, you know what? Let's look at this seriously with what's going on exactly right now and forget about what we think is going to happen. Look as if the sailing was right now. So we looked and said, well, we're noticing that more and more people are being quarantined. We notice that more and more ports are being missed. We notice that some of the entertainment has been changed and altered because the staff gets sick and can't perform. And even some of the things that you would normally be able to do on some of the cruise ships have been cut down quite a bit because of things, not to mention the mask policies and things like that. Some ships aren't fully opened for some of their venues. So we decided, yep, we're going to reschedule that cruise for sometime later in the year when we're hoping things are much, much better. And it's kind of a decision that everybody has to come up with right now. If you're sailing this month, and I know a lot of people are sailing this month, as much you have to look at it is it really worth spending your money right now with what's going on? Are you going to miss if you're a big entertainment person and they say, well, you know what? Sorry, we're not going to show the show tonight of Grease because the staff is sick, but hey, you get to go see a comedian. If that's going to bother you, then is now the time to be doing this. Is now the time to be, doing the cruise that's going to cost you a certain amount of money. And if you're living near a cruise port, that's much better than if you fly in a great distance. Like for myself, I'm flying from Canada all the way to, say, Fort Lauderdale, or my next cruise is Los Angeles. Well, it's harder for me to get home if something happens. Sometimes when you get home, land in Fort Lauderdale and your home's only 30-minute drive away and you have your car at the cruise port, they just say, okay, go finish your quarantine at home. No issues. If you're flying, it's a completely different story. And you may be stuck in a quarantine hotel, especially if you're coming in from a foreign country. Numerous people just got off a ship in Florida, 10 couples, and they're from different countries, England, Ireland, and one of your travel party, like your wife or your daughter or your husband, your mother, they tested positive. You are all having to go into a quarantine hotel room. One of the problems with that is, so say you're there with your teenage daughter and your wife and your husband, and you're in quarantine. Your daughter has tested positive, your wife has tested positive, but you haven't. But now you're in the same room as people with COVID. And what are the odds of you testing positive over the next 3 days? Even if they test negative, you may now be test positive, and that will extend your quarantine stay again. There is so much going on that you really have to think about right now. And so, I hate to say it, but I've started canceling a couple of my cruises in the near future. I was hoping to maybe even head down next week. I was going to surprise Tony on a cruise, but in all honesty, I'm just too busy right now here at home with work because of stuff going on. But it's just, is it the right time to be traveling a great distance? Tony's going to a cruise port that's a couple hours away from his house. He can drive there. He can get home if he has to quarantine afterwards. It's a much safer bet for Tony to do that. Myself, Canada, flights, all that stuff, it's a big thing. So if you're deciding whether or not to cruise right now, I'm going to tell you what to look for. But before I do that, let me just invite you to maybe hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Really helps the channel out. You'll be up to date with all the news stories, all the things that are going on, and we will talk about cruising, hopefully, as it gets better and better instead of worse and worse like it just seems right now. And again, I'd really, really appreciate it. Okay, things that I'm looking for and you should look for if you're deciding. If they cancel shows and entertainment, will that bother you? If you miss cruise ports, will that bother you? If you end up spending 7 days out of 9 days at sea, will that bother you? If they close some of the restaurants because of capacity issues and you end up being in a certain place at a certain time and have to sit in a restaurant you might not want to be in, will that bother you? If the entertainment on board, like the line dancing that you're so used to, the onboard, game shows, the trivias, if that's affected on the cruise ship, would that bother you? And most of all, if you catch COVID and you have to go into quarantine, can you get home quickly? Can you get home and quarantine back at home? Or is there a chance you may get stuck being late getting back to your job? Or, if you're traveling and your kids are with the grandparents or something, will you get back to them in time? That's a big, big if right now, especially over, like I said, this month. This month is a turning month, and it's not going to be a good story until, I'd say, near the end of the month, when you start seeing those ships that have been canceled and delayed and postponed start coming back online. And then the stories may start dying down. But right now, it's the bubble where everything rises and then everything is going to level off and then start going down, like every wave we've had so far. And this one is no different. We got to ride it out, but at what expense? What expense do we want to risk our money and even our enjoyment on a cruise? Because if it's not the experience you're hoping for, maybe postpone it and book it at a later date. Because nothing would be more disappointing than I finally get on a cruise ship and I had the worst experience I've ever had. I want you to go and enjoy cruise ships and love them as much as I like being on them. And I'm perfectly happy sitting in my balcony looking out at the ocean, going to a couple entertainment shows. I don't need a whole bunch of stuff on my cruise to be a happy person. And even myself right now, I'm saying, right now, especially this month, I'd probably be rethinking my cruise. Hate to say it, but it's true. And that's what we did. We canceled my first cruise last night, and it broke my heart. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.